If you're watching this, there's a good chance you're not asking, was it really that bad? You're asking, why do I still feel like I'm not myself? You can leave an abusive relationship and still wake up with a body that flinches at silence, a mind that scans every message for danger, and a heart that misses the same person who hurt you. That doesn't mean you're weak. It means your nervous system learned a survival language, and now it needs to learn a new one. Recovery isn't just moving on, it's rewiring. After an abusive relationship, the most confusing part is often the contradiction. You may feel relief and grief in the same hour. You may feel safer, but also more anxious than ever. You may know logically you should never go back, and yet one soft apology can pull you into a spiral. This isn't because you're addicted to drama. It's because your brain bonded under stress, and stress bonds are powerful. When love and fear get mixed repeatedly, the brain starts to treat the abuser as both threat and relief. That creates a loop. Danger rises, your body panics, and then the same person offers comfort or calm, and your brain labels that calm as love, even though it's just the end of a storm they created. To understand recovery, we have to understand what abuse does to the brain and psyche. In healthy relationships, safety is consistent. Your nervous system doesn't need to stay on guard. But in abusive dynamics, safety becomes unpredictable. One day you're praised, the next day you're punished for the same thing. This is called intermittent reinforcement, and it's one of the strongest learning mechanisms in psychology. Slot machines work the same way. When reward is unpredictable, the brain tries harder. It becomes obsessed with figuring out the pattern. You start thinking, if I say it the right way, if I'm calmer, if I don't trigger them, we'll finally be okay. Over time, your mind stops focusing on what you want and starts focusing on what prevents an explosion. That's why survivors often describe life afterward as walking out of a noisy room and realizing their ears are still ringing. The relationship ends, but the internal alarm system doesn't turn off immediately. The amygdala, the brain's threat detector, has been trained to fire quickly. Your body learned closeness equals risk. So even with a kind person later, intimacy can feel like danger. A normal delay in texting can feel like abandonment. A neutral facial expression can feel like anger. You're not overreacting. Your brain is applying old survival predictions to a new environment. Let's talk about why leaving is so hard, even when the mind knows the truth. Abusive relationships often create a narrowed reality. The abuser may isolate you from friends, question your perception, or make you feel guilty for needing anything. Over time, your self-trust erodes. This is where gaslighting becomes damaging. It's not only about the argument you lose, it's about losing your internal compass. When you don't trust your perception, you start outsourcing your reality to the other person. Am I too sensitive? Did I misunderstand? Maybe I'm the problem. That doubt becomes a psychological cage because it keeps you from acting on clear signals. And then there's shame. Shame is not the same as guilt. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Shame says, there's something wrong with me. Abuse cultivates shame because shame makes control easier. If you believe you are difficult, broken, or unlovable, you'll accept smaller and smaller portions of respect. You'll settle for, at least they didn't yell today, as if basic decency is a gift. After leaving, that shame doesn't disappear. It can follow you into new rooms like a shadow. You might find yourself apologizing too much, minimizing your needs, or feeling anxious when someone is kind, because kindness feels unfamiliar and therefore unsafe. Here's an example that many people recognize. Imagine a woman named Anna. For 2 years, she lived in a relationship where love came with conditions. If she was cheerful, she was rewarded. If she was tired, she was criticized. Arguments ended with silent treatment that could last days. When she finally left, she expected to feel free. Instead, her first week alone felt like withdrawal. Her mind replayed memories at night. She checked her phone even though she had blocked him. She cried, then got angry at herself for crying. This is common because the brain craves resolution. When a story ends without closure, the mind tries to complete it. It thinks, if I just understand what happened, maybe it won't hurt. But analysis without safety becomes rumination, and rumination keeps your nervous system activated. Recovery begins when we stop treating healing as only a decision and start treating it as a process in the body. Trauma is not just a memory, it's a pattern of activation. The body carries it through sleep problems, sudden panic, stomach tension, hypervigilance, emotional numbness, or feeling detached from yourself. Some people feel everything too much. Others feel nothing at all. Both are the nervous system trying to protect you. Feeling nothing can be the freeze response. Your system shuts down to reduce pain. Feeling everything can be the fight or flight response. Your system stays on high alert to prevent surprise. One of the first stages of recovery is stabilization. This means building enough daily safety that your brain believes the danger is over. Many people skip this stage and go straight into "why did I stay?" or "what's wrong with me?" But early on, your brain doesn't need more self-criticism. It needs evidence of safety. That evidence is repetitive and boring, and that's exactly why it works. Regular meals, consistent sleep time, sunlight, moving your body gently, reducing contact, and being around people who don't pressure you to perform. The brain learns through repetition. When you repeatedly experience calm without punishment, your threat system gradually lowers its sensitivity. Another key stage is rebuilding self-trust. After abuse, your instincts can feel broken. You might worry you'll choose wrong again. But the truth is, your instincts were often correct. You just learned to override them to survive. So self-trust comes back when you practice listening to small signals and honoring them. If your body feels tense around someone, you don't argue with it. You get curious. If you feel drained after a conversation, you don't force yourself to be nicer. You take that data seriously. Self-trust is built the same way muscles are built, through small repetitions, not one big motivational moment. A common trap in recovery is turning the abuser into a mystery you must solve. Were they a narcissist? Did they love me? Why did they do it? Understanding can help, but obsession keeps you emotionally connected. Your brain still treats them as the center of the story. The real shift happens when you move the spotlight back to yourself. Not what's wrong with them, but what happened to me in that environment? And what do I need to rebuild? That's not selfish. That's recovery. Now let's talk about triggers, because triggers are often misunderstood. A trigger is not being dramatic. A trigger is your brain detecting a pattern that once predicted harm. The brain is a prediction machine. If someone raises their voice and in the past that led to humiliation, your body will react before your mind can logically evaluate the situation. You may feel your heart race, your throat tighten, your thoughts scatter. The goal isn't to never be triggered. The goal is to learn to respond differently when your system activates. Instead of believing the alarm, you learn to check the environment. Is there actual danger right now? Am I safe in this room? Do I have choices? That moment, recognizing you have choices, is incredibly healing because abuse often removes the sense of choice. Here's a practical example. Mark left a relationship where every disagreement turned into blame and threats of leaving. Months later, a coworker gave him mild feedback on a project. His stomach dropped. He felt the familiar urge to apologize repeatedly and fix everything immediately. In that moment, his brain was not responding to feedback. It was responding to the old pattern. Criticism equals rejection. Recovery is when Mark pauses and tells himself, "This is feedback, not abandonment." He breathes, grounds his feet, and answers calmly. That single moment teaches his nervous system a new association. Criticism can be safe. It's small, but it's the kind of small that changes your life. Another deep part of recovery is grief. People think grief is only about missing the person, but often you're grieving the version of yourself you were before, the time you lost, the dreams you had, and the future you tried to build. You might also grieve the good moments, and that can be the most confusing grief because it can tempt you into rewriting the story. The mind says, if there were good moments, maybe it wasn't abuse. But good moments don't cancel harm. In fact, good moments are often part of what makes abuse so sticky. They create hope, and hope keeps you invested. You may also experience anger later. Sometimes anger arrives months after leaving, when your body finally feels safe enough to feel it. Anger is not a problem. Anger is a boundary emotion. It says, "That was not okay." The goal is not to get rid of anger. It's to use it wisely. Anger can help you maintain no contact, speak honestly, and stop minimizing. When anger turns inward, it becomes shame. So one of the tasks of recovery is to let anger point outward at the injustice, not inward at your worth. Rebuilding your identity is another major step. Abuse often reshapes you into a smaller version of yourself. You may have stopped wearing certain clothes, seeing certain friends, laughing loudly, or pursuing goals because it caused conflict. After leaving, you can feel empty because you're not sure who you are without the survival role. This is where exploration becomes therapy in daily life. You try things without pressure to be perfect. New hobbies, new routines, new music, new social spaces. Not to distract yourself, but to reintroduce choice and curiosity, two things abuse tries to kill. When it comes to new relationships, many survivors swing between extremes. Some avoid intimacy completely because it feels unsafe. Others jump in quickly because loneliness feels unbearable and the nervous system seeks a familiar intensity. Healthy love can feel boring at first because it doesn't produce spikes. If your brain learned that love equals adrenaline, calm can feel like disinterest. This is why pacing matters. Dating slowly isn't just a moral idea. It's a nervous system strategy. It gives your brain time to learn that stability is not a trap. There's also an important psychological pattern called repetition compulsion, where the mind unconsciously seeks familiar dynamics, hoping to finally win the ending this time. It's like the psyche saying, "If I can get a different person to treat me well, it will heal what happened." But healing doesn't come from recreating the same story with a new character. Healing comes from building a new story with new rules. And those rules are boundaries, self-respect, and the willingness to leave early when patterns appear. So what actually helps in a grounded way? First, reduce exposure. If contact is necessary, keep it structured and minimal. Your brain can't detox from a drug you're taking daily, and intermittent messages can keep the bond alive. Second, create predictable safety. The nervous system loves rhythm. Third, name the pattern without debating it. Instead of, "Maybe I'm overreacting," you say, "My body is activated because it remembers." Fourth, reconnect with supportive people, even if you feel awkward at first. Isolation is where abusive narratives grow stronger. Healthy connection is where they dissolve. And finally, practice self-compassion in a very specific way. Self-compassion is not telling yourself, "It's fine." It's telling yourself, "Given what I lived through, my reactions make sense." That sentence is powerful because it stops the second injury, judging yourself for being injured. You didn't choose the survival adaptations your brain built. You can now choose to retrain them. If you're still asking, "Why do I miss them?" Remember this. Missing is not proof of love. Missing is proof of conditioning, bonding, and unresolved grief. Your brain misses the relief after the storm. Your body misses the familiar. Your psyche misses the hope that this time it would be different. You can honor those feelings without obeying them. Feelings are signals, not commands. Here's where I want to leave you. Recovery after abusive relationships is not a straight line. Some days you'll feel strong, and the next day a smell, a song, or a certain silence will pull you back emotionally. That doesn't mean you're back at zero. It means your brain is updating. Every time you choose safety, every time you tell the truth without minimizing, every time you honor a boundary, you're teaching your nervous system, "We don't live there anymore."